Hello and welcome. We are here to go take a look at update 2 and the current state of the game after that update. This is including the part 2 of this update, which was released on the 6th of July 2022. So everything that has come after, I don't know yet. This is how the state of the game is at this current moment. And that includes the part 1 where we got the golems and part 2 where we got the whole effects update. So I'm gonna give basically sort of a review of what the current state of the game is and what's good, what's bad, and what's ugly in my opinion. Let's start out with the good. Let's see. Well, we have a bunch of new buildings. And a lot of those buildings are related to the golems. We have the golem part factories. We have the golem factory that actually produces the golem. And we have the maintenance stations and, well, the charging station, but that is for the Iron Teeth specifically. And then we have a couple of other buildings related to that on both sides. We also have a bunch of new buildings related to the effects update, which includes the teeth grinder. Don't imagine what that would do to a human when they put their teeth on that, because that will just give you shivers. It is the way beavers' teeth grow. It's a little bit different than humans. They keep growing their entire life. I saw this in a video the other day about beavers, so it makes sense that you can actually get your teeth sharpened somehow. I don't know how that speeds up the growth process, but I'm sure they thought about that. It's just a very visually unpleasant idea to have your teeth grinded. So let's not go into that much longer. We also have the injuries that are now being able to take care of in the medical beds, and they go a lot quicker if you have a healer, which includes a healer building, which looks pretty good, and it creates medicine. So we have a lot of new buildings. We also have these showers, or what is it called for the Iron Teeth? It's the water jet, and they make sure that the beavers stay wet, have wet fur, and when they have wet fur, they do not get overheated, and I think that is a really nice addition. It makes sense that in a drought, the drought happens for a reason, so we can imagine that it's a lot warmer during that time, and the water jets and the showers will cool them down. So that is good to have, and they give it a little extra buff. As long as they have wet fur, they go a little faster, so that is nice. Speaking of these effects, all well-being statuses, they have gotten an effect to it, and either they have a bonus or they have a penalty. And yeah, it's good that all of that is added. We have stuff now properly implemented on the well-being level. The well-being levels also don't each give a well-being +1. They're variable, so some stuff is more important than other stuff. It gives you a better addition for your well-being, so it's also not as simple anymore as it used to be. Also a nice change. Then we have the part 2 update. I'm going back on that right now because in part 1 we had the golem part factories, and they took up quite a bit of room because you needed 3 for all 3 different parts. But now they have made them stackable in part 2, which is lovely. It's also notable that the medical bed, you can build a platform on top of that, so it is also great that you can do that. Unfortunately, the grindstone does not support platforms on top of that. I hope they will change that, because the more buildings have the option to be stackable or have the ability to have platforms built over them, the better. I know this limits the designs a little bit. However, it makes the building of your designing of your city a lot more fun because you can place buildings on top of each other and place them everywhere. Another great improvement is that the base life expectancy has been upgraded. So we have a little bit longer base life expectancy, which will also mean all the buffs that increment on top of that will last longer. If it's 10% increased life expectancy, that is 10% on top of the current base life expectancy, which will be longer than it previously was. So yes, you basically need less breeding pods in case of the iron teeth, which is how I found out that they actually changed that, because all of a sudden I had a lot of unemployed beavers because they kept pushing out these new beavers from the breeding pods, but my beavers all became a lot older than they did before. As for another good thing is that they added the golems. I'm still a little bit on the fence because I'm not entirely sure if it fits in completely thematically as opposed to how the game looked before update 2, but they're starting to grow on me. I'm enjoying them. I haven't played too much with them yet, but it's they kind of remind me of the automatons in Frostpunk, and you can place them in the building and they do the job of your regular employees, and that is nice. We have a lot of new chains of production included with this update because of these golems, and I like that. I like production change. You have to set them up properly, keep an eye on how much time each production does. Of course, you don't want an endless supply of golems, or maybe you do. I don't know how you play, but you know, the thing I am kind of sad about is that I would have had priority on some other features that I would rather have had than these golems. But I'm not the game designer, and I'm sure they have a roadmap and they have things on there that they wanted to make from the get-go, and it's nice that it's not exactly how you imagine that a game will develop. It's early access, and I'm sure a lot of new things will be added over time, and that may or may not include the ideas that I have. But yeah, that is for the good. That is a pretty decent list of things that are really good that have been added. So let's continue on and talk about the bed. Okay, here we go. I'm going to start with one of my pet peeve basically for this update is that they removed the observatory from the Iron Teeth. It is the nicest looking building in the game, and I loved placing those in my builds and having them on key parts in the cities and have them overlook or be on the top of a mountain. It is a beautiful building, and now the Iron Teeth no longer have them. So it is bad, but it's not really bad. It's my opinion, and it's just that they removed one of the nicer looking buildings that I placed, mostly not because I needed it, but because it looked awesome in my city. And I hope we get a really nice looking building back for it that we want. So that is bad, but it's not really bad. So I started with that, get that out of the way. The thing that I think is bad is that hunger and thirst, they're worse now for the folktales. I don't usually play folktales, so it won't matter that much for me. But I know people that play them. They will, and even in hard mode, it's gonna be tough to survive when you get to a drought where you basically at the end of it don't have enough food or water left, and your population is slowly dying. No food and no water means infertility for the beavers. And the iron teeth, they don't reproduce in that way. They just have these breeding pods, and as long as they get berries and water delivered, they will pop out new beavers. However, the folktails, they will not produce new kids if they are infertile. So I think that needs to be rebalanced, because it's totally making a really bad distinction between the iron teeth and the folktails, and I think that should not be in the game in this sense. If there is a drawback that big for the folktails, then there should be a drawback equally as big for the iron teeth on those two types of basic needs. Another thing that I'm not really happy about is the addition of dandelions. We already have a lot of stuff being placed. We have the sunflowers, we have multiple underwater crops, and a bunch of different trees. So we got another thing that is added, and the only thing dandelions are good for, let me restate, this is at the moment. I don't know what their plans is, but at the moment dandelions are only good for making medicine, and it takes up a bunch of space on fertile ground that is also being wanted by other crops and trees. So based on the thought that most crops only have one purpose, that is food, we could maybe combine them and have one crop be available for multiple things. Maybe if you let them grow a little longer, that they become more useful for one thing or the other. I don't know. Or make dandelions be good for something else as well, because now you only need them for medicine. Then we have the broken teeth. Let's talk about that. The lumberjacks, they will go and cut down the trees with their teeth, as beavers do. So that is logical. However, they can now get broken teeth, and then they have to go to the grindstone, because the debuff of broken teeth is that they have a slower cut rate for the trees. So if they have broken teeth, the cutting chance decreases by 75%, which is a lot. We got all these debuffs, and I think they went a little bit overboard with the number of debuffs. I mean, debuffs are okay, don't get me wrong, but I think for the broken teeth, they should not have gone with the broken teeth. They should add the tooth grinder, because it's a nice thing, but maybe they should have make it a buff called sharpened teeth, and then the cutting speed would increase by 10%, something like that. And of course, the grinding stone would need to have a resource, maybe even power, to grind it, to rotate the stone around, because now it's free, and the only thing it does is slow down the cutting of trees. It's an unnecessary drawback in the game that slows down the game, especially in the beginning. So I think, and other than that, it's just, it's basically just another 1x1 tile thing that you place in front of every lumberjack flag. It's unnecessary in this way. So I hope they will change that, and I hope they make it a buff instead, because we have now quite a bit of debuffs. We have the injuries, we have the pollution, we have the overheating. If you don't have shelter, if you don't have sleep, if you don't have water, if you don't have food, that's all debuffs. We could do with a buff on the teeth level, I think, instead of having that also as a debuff. So when I loaded my game, which is I'm stating this is a load of a game that I'm playing on stream. It has it had 500 beavers when I loaded up, almost 500 beavers, and within no time there were over 100 injured beavers in my playthrough, and I didn't even have the time yet to plant the dandelions and make the medicine, which makes sense because I loaded the game. So regardless of that, it is very strange that within so little time already so many injuries happened. I think that needs to be tuned, and I think that needs to be tuned correctly so that injuries are less frequent. I know they happen less frequent or not at all even on the lumber mill and the gear factory, or at least the place I've done where I'm up to that level. I haven't seen injuries yet. Maybe they do happen, but they are less frequent. But in the heavy machinery, they seem to happen quite a lot, and I think a little too much. So I hope they tune it. It is bad, but it's bad in a sense that I'm sure they're aware of it, and they're tuning all of this. So it's something that can be overcome very easily. So yeah, another thing they could do for the injuries, they could make it so that we can upgrade buildings, or have science unlock something that will make working in factories safer or something, so that injuries happen less often. I mean, that makes sense, right? We could upgrade buildings so that they become more safe. That's what happens in real time as well. I mean, in real life as well. Another thing that is not necessarily bad, it's just weird, is the water jets. They need to be submerged in water. And I mean, if the beavers walk into the water, don't they get wet fur regardless? So it made more sense to have these showers like they do in the folktales, even though they're bugged, because you currently, once they have been turned on, they don't require water anymore. But that is just a bug. That is not something bad. It's just they're working on that. But why do the water jets need to be submerged? If the beaver goes in the water, they get wet fur anyways. Seems a bit counterintuitive. Let us place it somewhere and bring some water buckets to it, and have it work for a while there is water in it. Then you can place them throughout your colony. Upgrade them like that. Put them somewhere in your colony and have them use the water jets as an actual shower somewhere. That makes more sense. Now the really bad part that I have come to see with all these changes is it's been tethered mostly to hard mode to make it more hard. Whereas casual play, where we just design and build stuff, it has become more tedious. So I really hope they make a setting like on easy mode, or maybe even normal, where you can turn the debuffs off for all these things, because it's not really necessary if you're designing. I mean, or tune it. Like easy mode, it takes a lot longer before they get into the debuff. Currently, there is a negative that becomes red when you get into the negative of a need, and you have a green, and then you're positive. Maybe have a middle part where it's yellow, and they're already, for example, they're already hungry, but they're not so hungry that they are no longer working, or they are no longer, fertile. Make that yellow bar very small on hard mode, and make it larger on normal, and make it even larger on easy. That way, the negative effects don't influence your gameplay that much on easy or normal, but it's still there. I think that is a good solution, and I think that makes the distinction between hard mode being really hard and normal being really normal. I don't know what that means, but you know what I mean. It makes it a lot more fun. So I hope they do that. Now, let's get to the ugly. And there is only one thing to say here, and that is the number cruncher. I will end with that because that building is just ugly. And that is the only reason I added the ugly into this, because I think it's just, there is nothing to it. It's just a blob of building with a couple of gears on top of it. And there's nothing more to it. I hate it. It's ugly. Change it. Make it something nicer. At least put something on the sides, like numbers, that they're actually, you know, doing something. I don't know. Make it have lights come on in the evening. It's just, I don't know. Yeah, that is that is really, I'm really not happy with that building, and I have yet to really use it. So there we have it. That was my little list of good, bad, and ugliness of the current state of the game, mostly about update 2, the additions that they did, both part 1 and 2. So in my opinion, update 1 was a lot better than update 2. I liked update 1 a lot more. It's not the best update. It's become more tedious to play on casual. Hard mode is more hard. It's definitely a better addition. So they changed one mode to be harder, but they also did the casual kind of play, made that more tedious, what should not be needed. So I hope for a rebalance on that level, as I previously explained. I would love a lot more, like something like automation and other stuff that I have on my wish list. There is a video in the making that has my wish list items, but that's taking a little bit longer to make because I want to have some visuals with it, and that is taking a bit of time. So for now, this is it. This is my opinion. Do with it what you will. You don't have to agree, and if you don't, please comment, and if you do, please comment as well. This is not about making you change your opinion about the game. I still love this game and I still play it daily. Let me know what you think, and if you enjoyed what I had to say, or if you didn't enjoy what I had to say, but you appreciate that I spend my time on this, please hit the like button. I have currently have one Timberborn series running on YouTube here. It's called the Tendrilar Tribe. Check it out if you haven't yet. I also stream on Twitch. The link is in the description. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you all for stopping by and listening to my rambles. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.